Hi there, and welcome to the Two Random Words podcast, where I chat with various people in creative industries, be it YouTubers, musicians, gamers, filmmakers, and anything in between. So today I'm joined by Genesis VII. Would you like to give yourself an introduction, Genesis VII?
Yeah. First off, thank you for having me.
Always.
I'm Genesis VII, and I think the most basic way I can describe myself is YouTube content creator. Is probably the best way. So
Mostly Final Fantasy, and I'm assuming that
yeah.
Genesis comes from Crisis Core.
Well, believe it or not,
Right.
actually, this was when I was trying to come up with an alias online. Like I knew I wanted the Roman numerals of seven,
Hmm.
and I was like, right, I need something before that. I can't be just known as seven. So I was like going through all the things I liked, and the thing that resonated with me was the Sega Mega Drive, and I was like, okay, Mega Drive 7. No, that doesn't roll off the tongue very nicely. And then obviously the American version of the Mega
Hmm.
Drive is the Genesis.
I
So that's
see.
I know. So
So it's nothing to do
but
with that. So that's really because of course I've been watching your Platinum series. I watched
yeah,
the 8 one first, obviously, and we'll get to that. But I've watched a few of them, and I haven't got to Crisis Core yet. And I just thought, oh, he's obviously going to say it's because it's where his name comes from. But no, well,
no,
I've been yeah. Mega Drive 7 makes you sound like a robot, I suppose, doesn't it?
yeah,
But it's
I know,
but
yeah.
I do think though, I mean I think Genesis 7 sounds cool, but I think that Mega Drive is a better name for that console. Just slipped up there. It's
Yeah,
like I'm slagging your
on
name
its own with it, yeah. No,
off.
on its own, Mega Drive is yeah, I agree.
Mega Drive. All right, so on that, so I guess we'll probably dive into your content and what got you started because I've noticed you've done quite a bit of stuff. You've done like there's some like WWE stuff from way the back at the beginning. So what what gave you the influence to start, and what's the journey been like so far? I guess.
Okay, so content creation has always been like an interest of mine. Like back, I think when I first watched YouTube, back I think I watched it in its inception, 2006, and I was just like, oh, this is so cool. And then around that time, the most things you'd find on YouTube was AMVs of like games to tracks at the time,
Yep.
and I was like, oh, so I made some AMVs, and I was like, this is cool.
Linkin
I don't know if
Park.
they're still actually Fallout Boy.
Oh well, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
fair enough. Yeah,
and some Lincoln Park as
yeah,
well. But yes, it's the typical, isn't it? Final Fantasy Lincoln Park. That
yeah. Final Fantasy, Linkin Park. Yeah. So Dragon Ball Z, Final Fantasy, and Linkin Park were like synonymous. I think back in
yeah.
2006.
And as time went on, like more kind of YouTubers came to light, like actual people you'd want to watch week on week.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is really cool. I want to do that. And back in around 2008, I just moved out, and I thought, you know what, I need to try and get into this and how things work. And I've seen a lot of them go to this website. I don't think it exists anymore. It's called Blog TV. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No, actually.
It's very, very old. I think it got brought out and it's now changed to something else, or they've done something. And basically, it was what Twitch is now.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't with games. It was literally like person to person kind of thing. And I did that for a bit, and I got quite an audience. And I was only doing it for like 2 3 weeks. I was on holiday at work at the time, and I'd switched my sleeping pattern around. And I think it was that typical thing of the Americans loving a British accent was the thing.
Absolutely.
So I really liked doing that, but then I returned to work and I couldn't keep up that thing, so that kind of fell flat. And then I break again. And then I'm a musician. Well, I say a musician. I can play piano and I can use music software. And I have a YouTube channel under the Genesis 7 brand out there covering like Power Ranger music of all things,
Oh,
like
okay.
the background music that you'd hear and that would never be commercially released. I
Hmm.
recreated it. So I had a good thing with that. And then that kind of like fizzled out because the thing I always find with content creation is when you start to make it into a chore, you kind of fall out of the
Yeah.
things that you love. So I took another break and then I made the channel that I use today. And I made it probably around 2 years before I actually started uploading. And I was playing a lot of mobile games at the time. And there was a mobile game that was there was a collaboration between WWE and Sega, of all things. and it was a game called Tap Mania, and it was a simple mobile game. It was you tap to get through the game, and for some reason, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to make a YouTube video on this, and I made the YouTube video, and I kept making them, and it kind of got a bit of an audience that was playing the game as well. And it kind of like the community manager that was working on that game, seeing the traction that the videos were getting, and then got me into the loop and started like previewing things to me to then be ahead of the game to put out the content. And then that kind of snowballed and we kept going and going. But then the game shut down, as mobile games do, unfortunately. And then I moved. Then I had that a relationship with someone that worked at Sega for anything else, and then they told me that they were making that there was a game being made called Sega Heroes, which was, I don't know if you've heard of that. That's closed now as well.
Right. Okay.
It's like a match 3 RPG, but with Sega characters. So Sonic from Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, Yakuza, Valkyria Chronicles, everything. And you collect these characters, use them in battle, and that had a good run. And I made content for that.
Okay.
And then again, rolling as well. I did some more WWE stuff. And then, yeah, it just kept going. And I just loved doing it. But the thing that like I mentioned previously, is always coming to this thing where when you make it, you do it so much, sometimes it can become a chore. Like it's a trap you can fall into. And I just lost a little bit of passion with the wrestling stuff. I wasn't really watching much more wrestling at the time as well. And I kind of fell in a slump, I like to call it, where I was like, I don't know what I want to make content, but I don't know what I want to make. So I kind of like bounced between mobile games, still trying to keep that creative like flair going. And then eventually early last year, I was like, you know what? Final Fantasy is my favorite thing of all time. I've been afraid to make content on it because I don't want my favorite thing to become a chore. But I feel like if my passion can shine through enough and I just have fun with it and not think about it as a chore and learn from the mistakes, I'll be all right. And I'm having a blast. So that's where I am now. I think that was the question you asked. I think the road of content creation.
Pretty much. It's interesting how like it's hard to relate to a lot of that. I mean, not quite on the same level, but like the musician side of things. So I'm a guitarist for my sins. I was a singer first. I was a singer first, and I was a singer in bands for years, and I sort of did that like pub band stuff. And I got pretty good at it, and it was it was all right, and it was a good experience. Well, actually, no, it was good. It was a good experience, but it wasn't a good way for me to network with other people that were like-minded. And that's what I wanted to do with that kind of thing. So I started a guitar channel. I can't remember when I started it now, but like you say, like it kind of can take the passion out of the creative side of it, because I ended up like at first, I think actually it was the beginning of lockdown, I started doing guitar and I was playing guitar 3 hours a day. It was really exciting, really interesting. I thought I might as well film it because then I can show a bit of progress and it'll be fun. And I can put something out every so often. And then I was like, right, I started aiming to try and create 2 guitar covers a week. And I thought, I'm not good enough to be able to do that. And it kind of, I kind of felt myself like pushing myself to the next level. It was good for that, but it stopped being fun. So I can completely agree with that. And I think, what you mentioned about,
sorry.
You go, no, you go, yeah.
I was going to say, I was forever setting the bar
Yeah.
too high for myself, if that's relatable.
No,
so
totally.
I've got no bar now. I'm just having a blast with what I'm doing.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, I mean, I think we'll touch upon events and live events in a second, because we almost touched upon one there, I think. But the thing that changed things for me is I was pretty much the same as you. Not just Final Fantasy, mainly PlayStation stuff in general. Really is my kind of vibe. But Final Fantasy is definitely towards the top of that. But I'd watched like PlayStation Access and things like that for years. I'm assuming you're familiar with PlayStation Access.
Yeah.
And and I went to EGX in 2019 and met some of the guys in PlayStation Access, and then loads of other people, and thought, well, hang on a minute, this internet thing where people are talking about games is not made up. That there's a genuine passion. Well, obviously, I've looked at things on forums for years and thought, well, these people are just, the people that are into these games, they're very niche, and there's not that many people that are like this. then you meet them in person, and like they're talking about putting hours into games and really getting into games. And you're like, this isn't fake. Whereas some of the things endeavors I'd taken with some of the music stuff had been like, or people I've known that have been actors and stuff like that were, oh yes, I really enjoyed doing that, and then the next minute they'd be saying they made it up. And but games, I've never met anyone like that at all. And
Yeah.
it's like as soon as the penny dropped with that, I thought this is actually real. And if I start actually getting into it and showing my nerdiness and how I know ridiculously detailed things about games, then actually there's a lot of people I can relate to. So that was the thing that pushed me. I don't know if you can relate to that at all. Or
Yeah, definitely. Especially last year, like where I got the chance to network with a few people. You just kind of like you get so not, I guess, overwhelmed with like how much in common there is, and the journeys, though they may be different, the paths are very similar, and just again like seeing the passion from others and just being able to just talk hours on end about just one subject when you'd probably planned in your head to talk just about like a plethora of subjects.
yeah,
It's mad. So yeah, I definitely relate.
yeah. So on the event stuff, because I know that you attended the Final Fantasy 16. Was it
Yes.
what was it called? It was like there was something going on at the Tower of London, wasn't there? Like, you have to fill me in on
Yes.
the deets.
Yeah, so essentially, they had the Final Fantasy 16. They had a big push, probably I think went in April. So about 2 months before the release of the game, they went for a good like big push of the game, getting it out to outlets and getting people to play it, content creators. I don't know if they had any like demo booths in places. I don't recall if they had demo booths in any events leading up to it. Um, but yeah, I got the invite to. Well, I was very surprised. I got the invite. I was like, "Whoa! Like, what a Final Fantasy! I get to try out this." And finding out it was at the Tower of London as well was just so fitting for the aesthetic of the game that we'd seen so far, having that kind of medieval kind of feel, British voice actors as
Yeah,
well. It was really fitting, and the venue itself, getting in there was amazing. Like all these PS5s layout, we had food. They had all the cutouts of the characters, a massive world map of the game. Um, and I was very nervous going into it because it's the first time I'd gone to an event like that. But again, like we just mentioned, as soon as you talk to someone and you get talking, goes away.
yeah.
You don't need to realize that there's nothing to worry about. You just need to talk and have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get into, I guess, dour, but the way I sort of describe some of this stuff is like a lot of this stuff, and Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy specifically, you spend hundreds of hours, and I certainly spent hundreds of hours on these things as a kid. And there were a few people I knew that played them, but a lot of the time it was me on my own in my room, and it was like in a way, it was a lonely thing. It wasn't not lonely in a bad way, but it was like it
Yeah,
wasn't something I can necessarily share with other people. And clearly
yeah,
now that you can connect, you realize there was loads of other people that had that shared lonely experience. If that makes sense.
yeah.
That sounds a bit
Oh
dour.
yeah, definitely. Because like I was like, oh, I don't know what to how do I talk? Should I talk to someone? Should I talk to that person over there? And I was thinking that there's an easy icebreaker here. Final
Yeah,
Fantasy. Like we're
exactly.
all here to play Final Fantasy 16. So I think as you kind of pass that kind of like anxiety of that, and then again, boom, had a blast, played the game. It's phenomenal session, like experiencing it. They provided like the Pulse headsets as well, so you fully immersed these massive like 4K screens that you just literally sat so close like this, and it was really cool. Like, and then we had the opportunity to kind of like network a bit more after the event and go
Yeah.
out for drinks. So
Yeah, and I've seen the photo in some pub of like you watch it. It's like Spot, the Final Fantasy creator, and then
yes,
Ben
all of
Starr
them.
in the
Yes,
bottom right.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like literally like this like who's who of Final Fantasy creators, which is really interesting.
yeah,
Because I mean I've been really engaged with Final Fantasy 16. It kind of got me back into gaming. I mean, I've always been a gamer
yeah,
and I've always been playing retro games and modern games, but this is all
yeah,
maybe by a PS5, and it was purely from seeing a poster on the Underground, and I was like, yeah, I've got to get PS5 now because for ages they were impossible to get hold of, and then I started like
yeah.
they played it a bit and then thought, well, this is really good, and then started getting involved with watching the content and the interviews with mainly Ben Starr, who's turned into, you know, the star of Final Fantasy VI. Well, he is anyway, but like he's
the
everywhere
best,
now, isn't he?
yeah, the best representative
Oh no, he's
for
just yeah,
that game.
and
Like,
you listen to, and he kind of like epitomizes that, you know, that thing we just sort of like described there. It's like kind of like he lives that, like that analogy we just talked about there of someone that
yeah,
like felt like they couldn't speak about something for ages, and all of a sudden they're just like leashed onto the world, and it's like that's so
yeah,
relatable. They did a there was a podcast with um is it Abubakar Salim, who did the voice of Bayek of Siwa
well,
in
yeah,
Assassin's Creed
Assassin's Creed.
Origins. Origins, I think he's in Odyssey as well, but I don't know anything about Assassin's
Is it
Creed.
Mirage? Mirage is the latest one, I think.
I think it
Like, he
might
might,
be.
because I think he was. I think the character was in.
He's in
Oh
one
God,
of.
there's
He's in
so
another
many
one
in there.
somewhere.
He was in Valhalla. The character
Yeah,
was, and I
that's
think then
right.
he had his own game in Mirage. I might be wrong. I think I'm
But
right. Sounds right.
yeah, I mean, I own most of those games. I've never played them though. So, but no, he's got his own gaming studio called Surgent Studios, and he appeared at, I think it was a Game Awards, and just turned up on stage and
Yeah,
announced it and discussed it.
yeah,
And they've also got a YouTube channel, and him and Ben are friends, and they were talking about, this is a really good podcast, really worth watching. And they're just saying about like, oh, I didn't think I was allowed to talk about this until I was in the game. It's like, wow, you know, like there's this like world of people probably of like, I think we're around the same age of our age group that are like now
yeah,
in the grown up world, and you know, creating games, creating stuff, and you know, at that age where we're, you know, influencing other people yeah, as well as we
yeah,
can. And now it's like, oh, we've taken over the world, and it's really normal to say, oh yeah, yeah, I'm really into games. Like, you know, as a kid, it was like, oh, you're a bit of a nerd, you're playing games. Now it's like, if you don't play games, it's odd, isn't it? That's how I feel anyway. I don't.
yeah. Yeah, no, exactly the same. Like when you were a kid, there's probably like your best mate and another friend that was in
Yeah,
like the smallest of circle. But apart from that, if you like talk to someone else, they'd be like, "No, what?" And
yeah,
then
yeah, totally.
again, and now it's just the flip side of it.
Which is, you know, how it should be, in my opinion. So,
Yes, definitely.
all right. So I guess we'll travel back to the past a little bit then and talk about early gaming memories. So, what can
Okay.
you remember? What the first game you ever played was?
Yes,
What was
Sonic
it?
the Hedgehog.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, there we go.
But it was the no, it was the Mega Drive version because my granddad had a Mega Drive, and I think how old would I have been? Like, because it wasn't like when it had first come out, it was a little bit after. I think it might have been like 94,
Mm.
93, 94. And he showed me that he obviously had games that he played. Like I think he had a game called Dick Tracy, and some other games that were
Altered Beast,
obviously,
probably. Yeah.
yeah, some games that were not suited to my age range. But I think at that time, I think Sonic the Hedgehog came with like every Mega Drive.
Mm.
So as soon as you put that on and I seen the colors on this like CRT TV, I was hooked. And then after that, I was like, Mom, Dad, I need one of these. But I think at the time they may have not had enough money, but we got the Master System,
Mm.
the Mark III, I think it was, and that came with Sonic the Hedgehog built in. And no, it came built in with Alex Kidd, and we got Sonic the Hedgehog with it. So Sonic the Hedgehog on the Mega Drive was my first game I played physically, but the one I had at home was the Master System version.
Yeah,
So
the one with the weird world map.
yes, and the underground of Green Hill.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it really
finally,
interesting because I was years ago now, probably 20 odd years ago. I played, well, I played Sonic quite early. It wasn't the first game I played, but I played it at my friend's house, and I'm literally pointing at the house over the road because it's the house I've lived in for years. And I played. He had a Mega Drive. He was the only person of my age group that had a Mega Drive. And it had Sonic in it. And I remember playing Sonic around his house and being like, "Oh my god, this is the fastest thing ever!" Because I was used to like Super Mario Land on the Game Boy, which is, in my
yeah,
opinion, a great game, but it's slow. Whereas Sonic
yeah,
is just like across the screen, you can get
yeah,
through the first level in like 20 seconds. And then that the bonus level where you're floating around all those colors and stuff like that, was just like, what on
oh yeah,
earth is this? It's incredible. But I think a few years after that, like I mean, obviously my memory's hazy of that era, but we put on the, I think it was one of the GameCube games had like all of the emulated Sonic games in it,
yeah. I think
and
like
the
the
Master System.
gems.
I
Yeah, I
think
think
it's
it's
either
gems
Gems or
collection,
Gems Collection or
or something.
Mega Collection, or one of them has got it in it. It's got the
Yeah,
Master
with a
System
plus
version
in
in
it.
it,
Yeah,
something like that, yeah. And
yeah,
we booted up the Master System version, and we both remembered it, and it was like, when did we play this? Like because as soon as that opens up and then Robotnik, and he's still Robotnik as far as I'm concerned, pops
Yeah,
across the screen on that world map thing. It was like I remember this. So clearly I played it at some point somewhere.
yeah.
I don't know where. But did you prefer, which one did you like more? Were you one of these ones that
I,
actually like the Master System version, or?
I actually prefer the Master System
Yeah,
version.
no, I
There's
like it
just
as well.
something about it. I think I don't know if it's just feels nice and chill. Like it's
Yeah, I
really
agree.
hard. There are differences. I really like Bridge Zone and I like Jungle Zone, and they were only in the Master
Yeah.
System version, and they're banging soundtracks as well.
It's
So
more like Mario as well. It's more like a traditional platformer than a go fast thing, I guess,
yeah,
because the
I think
Master
that
System
might
can
have
handle
been
it.
yeah,
It's more,
yeah.
yeah, it's just more accessible in a way. I mean, I've always liked it. Let's put it that way. I think some of the Sonic racing games of that era are the ones that are painful, like Sonic Drift and stuff like that. But I suppose at
Oh
the time
yes,
they would have been
yeah,
insane. But so you must have moved to PlayStation relatively soon after that, though, if you Final
yeah.
Fantasy fan.
So eventually, after the Master System, we did get the Mega Drive,
Hmm.
and then with Mega Drive, it was all the usual. So I think I had a lot of those 6-in-1 games on
Yeah,
the Mega Drive. You know, like Columns, Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, Monaco, GP, the World Cup soccer game. So that kept me going. And then eventually, I think my uncle had a PlayStation. It would have been '97, and I think my dad would have seen it and thought, "Well, this is cool. I'm gonna." He probably would have done what I would do and be like, "Well, I'm going to buy it for my child, and I am
yeah,
going to say it's for him." But when after night, it's my turn. But I got that and the PlayStation, and I think I have 3 games on the PlayStation when I first got it, and it was FIFA '97.
Oh yes, classic.
Yeah, I remember that because of the indoor pitches and
Yes.
the very easy to not make the goalkeeper because they would always crouch down and it would just like glitch through their leg
Yeah.
every time. Um, Gran Turismo,
Hmm.
uh, and then it was Crash Bandicoot 2.
The
So I don't know
best
how
Crash
far
Bandicoot
into
game.
the yeah, I don't know how far that would have been into the PlayStation line.
And
Maybe that was
that's
98 or would have been
well, not 97. I think those three. Well, FIFA 97 might have come out in 98, I guess. No,
yeah,
96. But Crash Bandicoot 2 is definitely 97. I think Gran Turismo might be 98. So it's
yeah,
probably the middle of the life of the system, but about halfway
yeah,
through the life of the system in terms of games.
yeah. It was around that time, but I
Yeah.
remember those games specifically, and they kept me going for. There were a good range of games: a racing game, a platformer,
Yeah.
a sports game. So
Do you remember what I just did a video on demo one, right? Do you remember what
yeah.
version of demo one you had? Just for
Oh,
interest.
it was the one with. I remember it being spacey. The menu was like,
Yeah.
it was like I think the music was like
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
um, and it was it had like Abe's Odyssey on
There
it.
we go. Yeah.
I think it would have had. There was this really cool, not cool. I thought it was cool, but I lost it a lot. Like a cube game where
Karushi.
yeah, I think it was. I think it's called Intelligent
Yeah,
Cube
it's
in America.
Intelligence Cube in America. It's
I don't
Karushi
know
and
how they came. Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know how we got that name with the Europe, but it had that, and then I think there was a few others on there as well. And
Yeah.
those demos were quite well. I don't know if I was to replay. You said you just done a video, so
Yeah.
you would have played through. Were the demos generous in time?
But
Would
yeah,
you
so
say?
like that one that's the I think that's the fifth one of seven demos there
Yeah,
are. So there's actually three versions of the demo, and that's the second
yeah.
version, but there's different games on but that
Okay,
one
cool.
that one I comment on it probably being the best one because there's Hercules on there
Oh
and
yes,
Abe's Odyssey, and they
yeah,
don't like I think they just keep going no matter how many times you
yeah.
die.
Hercules
Um,
is such a good game.
yeah, I know, but
Right.
whereas the other ones I think like bin you out after one life. So the Intelligence Cube one, which has got the infamous death animation, which is
Oh, like
terrifying. Yeah, which I remember terrifying me and the dinosaurs on it and everything like that. But no, most of them on there like bin you out after one life because they're all racing games and stuff like that. But Abe's Odyssey specifically, I mean, I stand by that being the best demo ever made, and I don't know whether it was by accident or by mistake, but because if you've obviously played Abe's Odyssey, like when you come along the screen, the messages come on explaining how the game works,
yeah.
and that suits it being a demo brilliantly. And
Mm.
it just like you play it even now, and I was just like, this is so intuitive because it's not holding your hand. Well, it is a little bit, but it's in that game. I think there's it's like 30 Madokans to rescue or something. Maybe not quite that many, but like like it tells you how to play the game, but then it doesn't tell you how to 100% the demo. So I think
Yeah.
it was like wow, this is like a full. I remember personally being like playing that almost as much as the games I had, which were not as good as the ones you had because I had Rapid Racer. If you've ever played that one, that's the demo on the demo one. But I know
Yeah.
which is just a game I hate because my friend. So I got my PlayStation for Christmas '98, right? And
Yeah.
my friend got a PlayStation for Christmas '98, but he got Crash Bandicoot bundle was his. So I was
Oh
like, I went
no.
around his house like at New Year's or whatever and played Crash Bandicoot. I was like, why don't I own this game? This is just so much
Yeah.
better than this stupid like racing game in speedboats. What's going on? But no, so I envy you for having Crash Bandicoot 2 early because that's probably still one of my favorite games, if not my favorite game ever.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I think it's I can play it anytime. I think it's great. But
Yeah.
uh, so I take it you then did you get Final Fantasy yourself? Actually, that's a question. So what was your first foray into Final Fantasy? What was your
Well, I think my first Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy VII. If that isn't a surprise to anyone with the seven in my name and just everything else. But the journey to that was like quite long because, well, I say it's long. It's not long. There's a little bit of a story behind it. But I think I had obviously we had Blockbusters and we could rent games from Blockbusters, but I had like a local business that was at the top of my street that was doing the same thing, and they like had a star-based system. So if the game had a bronze star, you could rent it for 3 nights at a cheaper price. If it had a
Hmm.
silver star, a little bit more expensive, gold star, something like that. I think it worked. It was weird, but I remember going in there all the time because it was always on the way to town, and I think I had the opportunity. I think my dad was like, "You can rent anything you want. Have a look." And I was looking, and for the first few times, it would have been other platformers like Croc and Spyro, because that's what I'd grown up on with the
Yeah.
Sonic going over to, and probably a few racing games as well. But I think I was at that time where I was just like, I'm looking for something new. And the Final Fantasy games here in the UK and Europe not got the most attractive box art. As someone that's not familiar with the series, they're going
Yeah,
to look at it
totally.
as it's just a logo. But I remember picking it up, and I think I was amazed by it just because of the jewel case it was in, because it was 3 discs. And I was like, oh, well, this is unusual. I looked at the back, and most of the things that they have on the back of the case are the CG cutscenes. Child me ain't going to know if that's a cutscene. I'm going to think it's the game.
Yeah, totally.
So I seen it, and I was like, this looks really interesting. I think the last one on the UK box art was a snowboarding scene as well, if I remember correctly. And I was like, this looks really cool. And I played Cool Borders 2 as well,
Yeah.
uh, shortly before this. So then rented it, took it home, played it, and obviously it was different to what I was expecting, but it's a new game for anyone that's young. Is you're going to try it. And I didn't mind the whole turn-based reading. I don't think I would have read the text when I first played through it, and this will become apparent when I get to where I need to go with this. And I just went through it, and it seemed pretty straightforward. And I think Final Fantasy VII is one of the easier Final Fantasy games when you look at them all. And I got to the God Scorpion boss, and the way the battle text displays is quite infamous, where it says, "If don't attack while its tail's up, it will retaliate," or something like that. But the way it displays it, it says, "Attack while its tail's up." So I
Yeah.
attacked, and then the next box came saying like, "But don't do it," kind of thing. Died, got a game over. I was like, no, I don't like this game
Yeah.
whatsoever. I got a game over, taking it back. And then I think a few weeks had passed, and then I found myself in there again looking for another game, and all the games there just weren't reaching out to me. And I looked at the Final Fantasy VII again, and I was like, what if? I assume this is what I was thinking, but what if I beat that boss? What would be next? And then obviously rented it again, and the rest is history. Like I beat the Scarred Scorpion, and then I literally grew up with the game. It taught me, I guess, yeah, it taught me how to read. I
Yeah.
learned words that I didn't understand at an early age, and yeah, that it resonated with me. And I think the more times that I went through it, or as time passed on, and I got like a little bit older, I would have been hitting like probably double figures when I fully got into it. Yeah, can't say no more. It was just great. And then
yeah, fantastic stuff. I mean, I've only so this thing's for me. So I played 8 first, which I think you probably know, but I played 8 first, and then I got round to 7 much later. I think I got into probably the mid 2000s when I had enough pocket money to buy all of the PS1 back catalogue, because at the time I think it was everything apart from 3 was on the PS1 up until 9. And so this is like 2004, 2005 maybe, and I bought them all. And and so I played 9 and 8 religiously, and 7 I'd never played with my friend over the road. I played 7 and said it was the best thing ever. And of course, we used to, there's actual footage in a video I did, which we'll get to, I'm sure, at some point, and of me like playing the sword fight with this particular friend who was into Final Fantasy VII. So we used to play as the characters. So it was in my life. I knew all about it, and of course, all the games media at the time had pictures of Cloud everywhere and stuff like that. So but this year is the only time I've finished it. I played Midgar loads as a kid, but this is the first time I actually finished the game. Well, sorry, last year, 2023, for reasons that I suppose I'll go into, I guess, at some point. But the thing, I think part of it was like I didn't want to like end my childhood by finishing it, which sounds really silly. Like, I wanted to get, I don't know, probably wanted to keep it kind of there. But no, it's amazing how much of an impact that game could have, even if I hadn't played it necessarily. I hadn't played it, but not to that degree, if that makes sense, because of how impactful it was, and everyone talked about it, So, but I mean, it's still your favorite one, is it?
Yeah, but sometimes I always think about it like, is it my favorite? I think a lot of people may question themselves when it comes to their favorite game. Is it still my favorite because of nostalgia?
Yeah.
Does it remind me of like the way I was when I first played it? But after recently playing it and recently playing it again, like I think it's phenomenal just the way. And I do get that nostalgia as I play it, and it just I think that's a valid reason to have it as a favorite game. So yeah, it's still definitely one of the best.
Well, it's one of those things, isn't it? Where like if it has an influence on you in your formative years, it's important to you, and that's what you're remembering. I mean, nostalgia. People say nostalgia is a bit of a dirty word. It's almost like a lot of people treat it like it's this silly thing, but to me, it's like it's the thing that makes you feel the most alive. Probably sounds really pretentious, that, but like if you can like keep hold of that thing that makes you, which is what you're doing, isn't it? Really, I think you're sort of talking about things that make you feel happy and feel engaged and stuff like that. And I think I kind of agree with a lot of what you said. I mean, again, not necessarily 7 wasn't the first one I played, but like the teaching you words and the fact you had to read the text on those early Final Fantasy PlayStation games, like you engage with the game a lot more, and there were like words in that. I was like, what does that mean? Like, and there's lots of war stuff that goes on. You're like, what is this? This is a new. It's like you're reading a book, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I think it's probably more words in it than there is in most books, actually, if you think about it. And and of course, in a way, as what I've never really thought about this, but like when you're playing through the game, you have characters you like and characters you don't like. You don't feel. This is my take on it anyway. You don't necessarily feel like you're on the side of all the characters. Whereas if you're reading a book, a lot of the time you like it's POV from the character's perspective. But like in the game of that level, you kind of like, oh, that guy annoys me. I'm not gonna have him in my party. So I don't. So who were the characters you didn't like in your party? That's like, I've got to ask this in Final Fantasy VII.
In Final Fantasy VII, who did I not have in my party? I've actually got a picture of the characters here to remind me, because as much as it may be my favorite, I you know what I mean, getting older.
Sorry, you play loads of games. It's understandable.
Yeah. So I think Kate Sith was definitely one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sorry, buddy. I'm like talking to Kate Sith on my screen.
Sorry, Kate Sith.
Sorry, but yeah, forgive me. I may play you in Rebirth. We'll see. I think another character would have been Barrett. I think as soon as we got to the world map, I think I went with the ladies of the group.
Yeah.
I think Red 13 I kind of abandoned as well. And then I think Vincent, this is the cool thing about Final Fantasy games, especially playing them when you're a kid, is, I mean, there's 2 characters in this game that you could completely miss, Yuffie and Vincent. I think it would have been like my 2nd or 3rd playthrough where I would have heard from a friend like, oh, there's this character called Vincent and he's like turns into monsters. So yeah, Vincent was definitely a go-to party member as well. So
yeah, see, it's interesting because I knew all about all these characters as a kid, and as a 9, 10 year old when I first played Final Fantasy VIII, and then when I was mid-teens and played Seven, like obviously I played them myself and was familiar. I'd done Midgar, so I think I knew most of the cast you meet by that point. Other than I think
Yeah,
it's probably is other than those two characters. I mean, you probably know better than me, but yeah, and I sort of like uh, don't really remember like I had a favorite party when I was playing it, but like when I played through it as how old I was last year, like I felt myself gravitating towards other characters and like, really exploring what they can all do by beating the game. And I thought Vincent was a
yeah,
cool character, but I didn't like how he played in the actual game. I didn't like his limit break, but I guess maybe if I spent a bit more time on it, it would make sense to me because
yeah,
that's how Seven feels to me. Like it because I guess maybe because I spent less time on it as a kid. There's more to explore for me because I've still not beaten the optional super bosses. I've not beaten Ruby or Emerald. The Diamond, I think. Which one's it? Which
uh,
one's the one that you? Is it the one that's flying around? Is that Diamond or Ultimate? I can't remember.
Ultimate's the one flying around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I did that one, which was painful to. But the boss was fine, but getting to it was actually
oh,
getting to
chasing it
it,
around the world
chasing
map,
it around the
just
world
like,
map was
yeah,
mental. But no, I did that, but I haven't done Ruby or Emerald yet. Which I think I'll get to at some point. But it's like from playing that game through, it feels to me like if I played it again, I'd probably like completely change the characters I played because it seems to me it seems almost like the my opinion of the 7, 8, and 9 Final Fantasies is that between the three of them is there's a perfect game there. I think
yeah,
that not one of them's like necessarily my favorite's 8, but
yeah.
of the three, I think between them there's it's perfect. If that makes sense. I don't know whether you agree with me on that or
Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, I think if you were to combine like the bests of
yeah.
each, you'd have quite a good Final Fantasy to play.
Yeah, totally. Because I think design wise, 9. I mean, they perfected the formula. Like silly little things like you press X to go in towns on the world map. That blew my
Yeah,
mind as a kid. Like
yeah,
that probably sounds really silly, but it's like wow, oh my god, it's given me a prompt. I don't just like accidentally walk past it and then it's the
yeah,
map
and it
goes
also
away.
tells you the name of what the location you're going
Yeah, I
into as
know.
well. Like
Yeah,
just
or
little things like that.
question mark question mark. Yeah, it's
And the nine also has like when you go into it, the nice little graphic of the name,
oh
like
the
it will
name
have a
comes up.
unique,
Yeah.
yeah, the unique animation for wherever you are.
So obviously on a content perspective, you've played through I don't know how far you've got. I think you got to
Uh,
on the platinum series, which I'm sure people have watched if they're watching this.
yeah,
You
yeah. So I've gone all the way up to 10. So I've
right.
done 10 in the same year, which is crazy to look back on. But
No,
yeah,
probably good fun though, wasn't it? Good fun year to get some
oh,
content out.
it was the most gratifying thing of doing that is again nostalgia,
Yeah.
playing these games again, discovering things that I didn't before, um, and just playing them again. I think just was really cool.
Did you I mean because I've watched them and I do know some of this, I guess, but like did you completely change your opinion on most of them or did it re-solidify like, I'm presuming you played them all as a kid or did you not?
Yeah, so the way it worked out, so I went 7, 8, and 9, and then when 10 came out, I think around the same time we got here in the UK, we got Anthology,
Mm,
which would have been 5 and no 4 and 5. 6 came out separately with a 10 demo disc,
yeah,
and then I think the year later, Origins came out with 1 and 2, if I remember correctly.
that's right, yeah.
So I got so yeah, I went when 10 came out, I actually didn't get into 10 straight away. I went back to play 4 and 5 and 6, and then went to 10, and then went back to 1 and 2. And then three's always eluded me. I never owned a DS when it got re-released. Um, I think I may have uh, emulated it at some time just to
Yeah.
see it, but my first true playthrough of it was during this Platinum series.
Mm.
So yeah, I've played them all before, but yeah.
Did you have a changed opinion on the ones you liked or didn't
Uh,
like?
so 7 definitely stayed where it was. 8, I think I always liked 8. I just thought because my first seeing of 8 was there was a poster in the game shop I was at earlier of Squall jumping in front of the robot, the dollar mission, and that was so cool. And 8 just has that 8 pretty much has a movie trailer as its intro,
Yeah.
right? To kind of get you like, this is what's gonna have fun. Like this is a preview of what you're getting yourself into. And I loved 8. I think this time around playing it, I loved it even more just because I got Squall. Like I understood him. Like I think it's quite obvious that he was mistranslated in various
Yeah.
stages when it came to the translation, but even the way he is translated, I got it. Like I understood his struggles in his head because I'd gone through that. So I think I had a new respect for 8 in the writing of its characters, and all the characters aren't really that bad. 9, I didn't really like when I first played it because 7 and 8
Yeah.
very modern. You know, like you're driving cars in 8 and you go into a futuristic city. 9, because I'd not been familiar with
Medieval.
the series, yeah, it went back. So it took me a while to get into 9. But this time, 9's just amazing.
Oh, it's a
Like
masterpiece.
it is one of the best. And then the earlier ones, I think my opinions pretty much stayed the
Yeah.
same. I think if I was to say anything about the earlier ones, don't sleep on 5. Don't sleep on Final Fantasy
Yeah,
5.
I've been hearing loads of people saying that recently. I've been like digging around loads of Final Fantasy things, and people are going, "Well, five's so good. 5 is the best thing ever. You've got to play 5." And it's like, well, okay,
Yeah,
well,
it's not really for the story. There are some moments that will get you.
yeah,
It's the job system. It is the
mm,
best iteration of the job system. Like if you were to play it without really getting any advice from anyone, and you decided what
yeah.
jobs you wanted to do, your story will be completely different to someone else's, and that's what makes it magical, because you get to play through it again with maybe a different layout. And
I don't know if you remember much. Well, the Flash animation era of the internet much,
yes,
but because I back in the time when I first got all the Final Fantasy games, so when I had all the ones on PS1, which is probably 2004, 2005 maybe. Like Flash was the big thing just before YouTube, and I used
yeah,
to make little Flash games and Flash movies back in the day. And I remember, I don't know if you ever went on Newgrounds, but there was so many different Final Fantasy animations on there,
yes, there
which kind
was,
of
yeah,
like that's the affinity I have with those older games because they use all those old sprites and a lot of them are just like puerile, really dated humor. But I mean they were great because obviously watching people make these stories about characters you could play with in the game were just really funny, and there was things like that. So I think a lot of my memories of those games are associated with those silly videos more than anything. But I
yeah,
still love it. I mean, I think I always love the intro to 5, like where the dragon
yes,
comes down. Like I think that's so cinematic, and like it's almost like one of those perfect SNES era things. And then there's the meteor or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what it's called. It's
yeah.
called the comet or the meteor, depending on what version you've got. But that initial where you see all the different characters and all the shrines and stuff like that, I think I could probably just watch that and think this is like a little, a 16-bit movie. It's great. So I think I mean I need to set some time aside to play some stuff. I've got a massive backlog like most gamers. I
Yeah,
still
me
haven't
too.
I
Yeah.
still haven't done 10. I'd really like to do 10.
Oh, you've not done 10?
No, I've not done so
Oh,
again it's
wow.
another one of those games that's in my life because of people I knew played it. So
Yeah,
I think I shared this on your Discord community earlier actually, but like my
yeah.
my initial memory of 10 was that I had 8 and 9, and I was obsessed with 8 and 9, like literally like obsessed with them. And I
Mm.
had the figures of 9. I bought them on a holiday, and I was like, look, I got Zidane, or however you say his name, Vivi, um, Queena, and Freya. I had those figures. So I used to like play with the figures and be like, yeah, the typical silly things you do when you're a teenager.
I was the
And
same.
yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah,
So, but of course, I didn't know anyone else that had these figures. So it was like, oh my god, this
yeah.
I feel so cool because I'm like in touch with something that's quite obscure, even though it wasn't. But the the uh, the thing is that like that was 2001, and it was a big deal because I'd bought it with my birthday money because I'm an April baby, so I got it over the Easter holiday,
Mm.
and Easter 2001, my birthday fell on Easter. So I remember, used to do Easter egg hunts when you were a kid. I don't know if you used to do
Oh, yeah.
them, but like I
Yeah,
ended
yeah.
up hunting for my games. And one of the games I got was Pokemon Gold, and then I got some money, and then with that week I got Final Fantasy IX. So I got them the same week, which is just mad thinking back how long ago it was. But yeah, and then of course. a few months later, you went to Asda and saw Final Fantasy X PlayStation 2, and I was just like heartbroken. I actually cried in the
Oh,
shop because I didn't have a
oh
PlayStation
no.
2, and it was like, oh
Yeah.
no, and I kind of like, I don't know if it put me off or something else interested me later in that year, but or was bitter, and I was like, no, I don't want a PlayStation 2 because I wouldn't be able to play the next big thing. But of course, it was one of those things like that era of Final Fantasy. They really threw money at the graphics because I remember like looking
Yeah.
at trailers of you familiar with the bouncer, the game The Bouncer? I did a
Yes.
yeah, so that
Yes.
was one. That was yeah, so I've done that one. But I did a video on that recently, playing it through. Oh my God. But
Oh,
it's an interesting game. But that was
yeah.
like I remember going into Blockbuster and seeing like this, character on the screen and they'd shown seeing the gameplay thinking, oh my God, that looks incredible. And then of course Final Fantasy X was being, teased. And of course the Spirits Within was being teased as well. So at that point it was like, oh my God, if like Final Fantasy was taking over the world, I mean the Spirits Within didn't
Yeah.
do that well. And
No, I went to
so
see that. I went to see that on
oh,
release,
at the cinema,
cinema release. Yeah.
did you walk out really disappointed?
I actually, I've been thinking about this, and I was like, I can't remember how I felt walking out of that. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Well, I watched it with my so my memory of it was that my dad plays games, but he's not an RPG person. He doesn't like RPGs. So Spirits Within, we rented it from Blockbuster, and it was me trying to be like, look how cool this thing I play of Final Fantasy. Look how cool it is, Dad. And it was like, no, that yeah didn't show what it was. He was like, oh, it's rubbish. I was like, no, but it's not. It's not what it's really like.
Yeah,
That's not Final Fantasy, and that was kind of my take on the Spirits Within. I've got a story someone else told me that I don't know if it's true, but and years and years ago, I had this friend that said to me that they sadly had the house was robbed and had all the stuff stolen, and apparently the burglars left just Final Fantasy Spirits Within on the
oh
shelf.
no.
So that he told me that, and I'm like, is that really true? Like, I mean, in a way, it's like I wish it was true. There's some humor to that.
Yeah,
It's, we're not taking that dreadful thing. I mean, it's really cool. It looks incredible still,
yeah,
but I don't know. It upset me at the time, I think. But um, it's one of those things. I guess you probably can't do a video covering that because it's a film and it might be a copyright thing. I wouldn't know how it would work. You probably know better than me.
mm, uh,
Unless I'm trying to taunt you into doing a coverage of it now, and
yeah.
I do it.
I watched through the entire Spirits Within.
And I'm still
It's
alive.
my thoughts. Yeah,
You could do it as an April Fool's joke and be like, do it on
okay.
April 1st and be like, I watched the Spirits Within. That's it, I'm quitting YouTube, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. But so so um, so yeah. So did gaming wise, then, well, we'll keep on Final Fantasy for a bit. So did you carry on down the series path? Did you play 11? Did you go for 13 and
So
12 and all that stuff?
yeah, so 11. Obviously seen things about it, but it was it did come out on PS2, I think. Well,
Yeah, right at the end
you
of the
needed
PS2's life
you
cycle.
needed
Yeah.
the yeah. But I think just internet, what would have been the barrier of me not playing that probably.
Hmm.
Um, but I never that got skipped. But 12, I remember getting 12 because I went to oh man, I went to a convention
Oh,
like
right.
with a girlfriend at the time in like Telford. It was one of like one of the first expos, or when it was starting to really become a thing. This would have been like 2005, 2006 maybe,
Yeah, the early
and they
days.
had they had Final Fantasy 12 playable in booths, and
Whoa.
I know this is crazy, and I played it, and I was like, oh, it was different because of the battle system completely changing. But I think by that time, I was just like Final Fantasy. Like I was very stubborn. I was like, I want to be playing Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy alone. I'm not going to dive into anything else.
Hmm.
This is what I'm here for. So I eventually got 12, but I never completed 12 due to the fact that I got a save data corruption, and I was pretty
Ooh,
far in,
brutal.
and I would have been like in my early teens or mid teens at this time. So I was very salty about this. So that was it. Brushed that under the rug, and uh, I should be getting back to it this year with the Zodiac
Yes.
Age.
Yeah.
So
So you've not played it
it's
since?
I played the Zodiac Age when it first came out, but again, I think I have one of these things where um, I try my best. If I play a game which I know it's going to be big, I will make sure that I focus on it.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll get FOMO of other games that come out while I'm playing through a game. Unfortunately, for Zodiac Age, a game had come out which I got and then I played and then didn't. I got really far into it. I must have been very close to the ending. But this year is going to be the year when I actually complete it, which will be nice.
Yeah, I'm similar to you in the sense because I didn't play it at a convention back in 2005. That would have been amazing. But
Yeah,
I got 12. Me and some friends at college got 12 for Christmas 2007 or around that period, 2007. And I remember of those friends because that's when I first started college. I was 16, and I was the only one in the group that had a job. So they were really. So we were playing this race who could finish Final Fantasy 12 first, and I couldn't keep
yeah,
up with them, do the work and keep up with them. So kind of like it kind of put me off. I was like,
yeah.
oh, I can't, I didn't want to really, they're
Mm,
beating me, so I won't do it. Of course, it's silly, stroppy 16 year old teenager. And then when the Zodiac Cage came out, I didn't have a corrupt save, but I'm an idiot because what I ended up doing is because what's interesting about the Zodiac Cage is you can choose your own like jobs for want of a better description, and I
yeah,
didn't choose a ranged person. So there's a bit, I think it's about 30% of the way through the game where you need to have someone that can fire arrows. Like you go out, I can't remember. You beat like a judge or something, and then it's like, oh, let's go and take on whatever, and you walk out into the wild, and the only enemies you've got are like flying ones, and I was like
right
committing,
enemies.
and I could like
Oh,
sort
no.
of hit them, but it was like this is just tedious. So I was like,
Yeah,
yeah, and then you like you say, if you got so far into something, you're like, I can't bother to sort of start again and play another 20
yeah,
hours. It's a bit best. I don't want to. I can't be asked to do that again. That's
yeah.
but leave it a few years. I think eventually I might get back to it. Well, I definitely will get back to it because it is really good. I
Mm.
mean, it's
Yeah,
incredible.
I had no quips with 12.
No,
I had no problems with the game. It was just obstacles that got in my way with it,
yeah,
really. So,
yeah, totally. To
and
13,
and then
yeah.
13, yeah, I got 13 on release. I think I, like most people, when they first released that initial trailer of Lightning, like
Oh,
ambushing that train, like this is awesome. And I think fans, I assume it would have resonated with you with 8 being your favorite, with it having this more modern
yeah,
take, very technological. It ticked the boxes for me. Getting the game, obviously a little bit different, but I'm not one of these people that thought it was bad. Again, much like 12, I enjoyed 13.
yeah,
I enjoyed it for what it was. It was something different. It had a different system to it. I think if only the only complaint I had is just the data logs are in menus, and
mm,
they could have done so much more if it was like implemented in the world a little bit more interactively. I'm not too fussed about the corridors of Final Fantasy 13 because
yeah. I mean,
10's exactly the same
totally. I
in
mean,
a way.
I didn't get too far in 13. I had the whole. Again, I've got like little memories of all of them. Like that I'm not
Yeah,
quite finished. So like when 13 came out, I bought my first flat screen TV I bought myself, and then like got like a HDMI cable because before that I was using the old what are they the old
composite,
SCAR. I think it was
the
SCAR I was using actually,
the
the
SCAR reads,
RGB
yeah,
ones, plugging that into. Oh, I can't remember. Well, but basically, I was using something that wasn't HD to play a
yeah,
PS3 on like an old little TV I'd had like 10
yeah.
years. And then I went, no, Final Fantasy 13, look how amazing it looks. I've got to buy a flat screen TV and when this comes out on release. So I played on release and I was just like, it's a pretty corridor. And I was a bit disappointed, and I think probably for the same reason. I think I got like maybe 10 hours into the game, and I thought I love the characters, I love the setup, I love the graphics, I love everything like that. But it was like
Mm,
it wasn't gripping me, and I felt this is going to be one of those ones that I need to really. It's a slow
yeah.
burn. But again, something else I'll get back to at some point.
Yeah,
But
I think they got me as well with Final Fantasy 13. I think it might have been the constant changing of the characters you're controlling. You couldn't
right,
really mesh the characters together until the late game. But then I think back, and the earlier Final Fantasies did, especially 4, did a similar thing.
yeah,
So I don't think that's really a detriment. I think it may have been just a change to the road of Final Fantasies that
yeah,
I've been playing at the time. But again, no quips with Final Fantasy 13. I do like Final Fantasy 13 2 a lot better. I think
yeah.
it's really good.
People say that, and a lot of people say they like the third Lightning Returns as well. But it's like I can't bring myself to just play 13 Part 2 and Lightning Returns first. I'd have to play.
Yeah,
I'd have to play them in
yeah, the
order.
trilogy. Yeah.
So I can't go. Oh no, sorry, I'll start on Lightning Returns because it's I don't know, just unless it's a prequel or something like that, I wouldn't know. But
No. It's all continuous story. Lightning Returns. I it has a mechanic, and this won't spoil it very much. It has a time mechanic basically.
right.
Everything's timed. The game is timed. If you don't beat the game in a time, you lose the game.
Oh, okay.
In a nutshell, there are ways to kind of extend the time and freeze the time, but I'm one of these people that like to explore. I like to talk to the NPCs, and I like to take my time. And having a clock that's flashing in the corner at me, I did not get very far in Lightning Returns. I think the only reason I got it is because it came with a cloud outfit and Buster Sword that you could equip Lightning in. So,
Well, that's
but
cool.
again, yeah, that's on the list to get done again anyway.
Sounds
So,
like the Majora's Mask of Final
uh,
Fantasy, like with the time mechanic. Yeah, the 72-hour moon thing. That's another
yeah,
game that's eluded me. But I want to do. Like a lot of these games, like they'll play with something clever like that that's quirky. I mean, I'm at the moment I'm playing for the first time I'm playing Dark Souls. I don't know if you ever played Dark Souls,
I'm
but
not very well. I'm not very good at them, but
no,
I guess I've not given myself the chance
yeah.
to learn. So you do a lot of learning.
But the point is, they're a very different type of game than your standard like hack and slash. Like Devil May Cry,
Yeah,
Devil May Cry, you can put that on and just like kill everything really quickly, and it's like or
yeah,
Bayonetta or something like that. Whereas this is like no, you've got to use your brain and think, and it's quite slow. It's quite a slow build, but it's a very different type of game. So I like when games do that with the mechanics. They sort of they play around with it and they sort of mess with you and stuff like that. So I think I'm intrigued by stuff. That sounds interesting with Lightning Returns. So I'd want to play that, but again, I couldn't bring myself to do it without doing
yeah.
one and two. So I'm like, obviously, I know that the Rebirth's coming out in February, at the end of February. So like, I'm thinking that's going to take up most of March. Uh,
Yep,
so I'm
it
thinking,
is.
what can I fit in something before that? Can I fit a Final Fantasy in before that? Probably not. I don't know.
Mm.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe I don't think so. It depends how fast you want to get through it.
I tend to get obsessed with these things. I did seven
Yeah,
in a few
yeah,
days,
I'm the
like a few
same.
evenings, but no, sorry. All right, okay. Well, I guess we'll mention. It sounds like a shameless plug, but obviously, for people that don't know, Jen appeared in my Final Fantasy VIII like thing. So
I did.
thank you for that, by the way. That's
No, no, anytime. Yeah,
yeah, that was a good fun. That was for me personally. I mean, just resonating on the stuff you talked about. It was like one of the best things I ever did that because it was like me reaching out to people. And what I find great about the Final Fantasy community is I've been like an outsider for years, like
yeah,
just reading stuff and like been not engaging with people that have the similar thing. That was the first time I went, you know what, sod this, I'm gonna reach out to some people, and pretty much everyone. There's a few people I asked to be in the video that couldn't be in it, but pretty much everyone came back to me was like, sorry, I can't. So it was great to like not have that. I've only got a few subscribers. No, we're not going to be involved with you. I think it's fantastic. It's a really cool
yeah,
community. I mean, from what I've experienced anyway. So I mean,
yeah.
I
I
guess
agree.
you agree. I mean, you're
Yeah,
more
yeah.
involved than I am. Being, I guess we can talk about the upcoming the upcoming quiz.
Oh, yeah, we
So,
can.
how did you get involved with the was it Ultimate Final Fantasy quiz? Is it called?
Yeah. I believe it's called the Ultimate Final Fantasy Pub Quiz. I think is
Right.
the official title. So the folks from FF Union, I met at the Final Fantasy 16 event, um, and I think I spoke to Daryl for most of the uh, quite a bit, and I really enjoyed talking to him. I learned a lot and asked questions and just I had a good time. I think it's one of those things where you've got something in common, like just go ham with it. And then I literally got a DM a couple of weeks ago just asking if I'd be interested. I looked at my schedule and there's a few things I needed to juggle around um, because it's in London. I live in the Midlands, so
Mm.
I just needed to make sure that train times and etc. are all right. And looks, I had a window of time, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm very excited because again, it's a chance to network. Because there's going to be some incredible people there throughout the space, whether it's a creator, a voice actor,
Yeah.
an industry. I don't know what the term for someone that works in the industry is.
A professional.
An
Lots of
industry
the journalists.
professional. Yeah, there's journalists as well. So it's a really cool time to just meet more people. And then again, like you've got everyone that's going to be going to there as well. So it's going to be a good time. A little bit nervous, but I think as soon as I
right.
get there, and it's just going to be a very good time.
So are you like captaining a team or something like that? Is that how it works? I mean,
Yeah. So essentially, I think the way it's going to work is there's going to be team leaders. I'm one of them amongst some other very great people. And they're going to, I assume that they'll split everybody that's coming to the event into these groups. And then it's time to go head to head and to win. See who's got the best Final Fantasy knowledge. So I assume that with me being the leader, I would be the one that gathers the correct answer and
your final say
pushes it forward. Yeah, maybe.
Be interesting to see.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So I think I said to you on Discord that that's the fastest I've ever bought anything in my life, because I mean, for me, I mean, one of the things I'm interested in, you mentioned the event of the Tower of London thing. Like I'd almost be more interested in talking to the people than playing the game. That's my thing. I'm probably, well, the demo anyway. Obviously, I love playing games, but I think I'd the like-minded people thing, and I think I might know some people that are going as well, potentially. I'm sure I'll probably see at least one person I know there, because I know a few people. There's a few people that popped up in that Final Fantasy video that might come. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. It'd be a nice surprise, won't it? And seeing Mr. Starr in action will be quite interesting as well. Did you watch? Obviously, you've met Ben, but did you watch him on PlayStation Access at Christmas?
I have not had a chance. I've got like a watch later list on my YouTube. It's almost like a backlog of games that I've got a watch later on YouTube.
If you want to be entertained, right? Watch there's a couple of episodes of PlayStation Access's Christmas Maze, and Ben makes an appearance. That's not a spoiler now because he's posted all over Instagram. And but no, that is absolutely worth watching because he's brilliant in it. So I don't know if you're a PlayStation Access viewer or anything like that. I've just spoiled it.
Oh yeah, I am. Yeah.
Spoiler. Sorry.
That's all right. I'm ready. I should imagine it's going to be entertaining.
Oh no,
Ben brings very good things to the table all times.
Yeah, so I guess it's a similar note then. So on going back to I keep calling it the Tower of London event. I suppose I don't know if it was called that, but
we'll keep it because it sounds quite grandiose.
The Tower of London event. Yeah, I know. So you obviously got invited to that. Was that? Did you bump into anyone there that you'd like watch their content and be like, or did anyone recognize you? That'd be interesting to know.
There was a lot of people there that I've watched content because I'm one of those people. I always call myself quite the lurker because I lurk in a lot of Twitch chats. I watch a lot of YouTube videos and don't leave a comment, even though I should know that it's quite important to leave a comment. But at this event in particular, they brought some people from the US over as well, and there was a few. Mr. Happy is one that's a Final Fantasy XIV content creator, which I play Final Fantasy XIV in the spare time I have, or wherever it may be, sometimes. So he's always been someone that so it was nice to see him there, and a few other people. But there was plenty of people there that I've watched, and it was nice to meet. And it was, I tell you, the funniest thing that I found, I was talking about it with someone the other day, is when you go to like an event with content creators, you're always in this situation like introducing one another. Like, do you use your real name or do you use your username? If you use your username, are you expecting to be like, oh, if you use your real name, they're going to be like, huh? So it was one of those funny things where everyone was like introducing each other like all over the place. But it was funny. And I think when it came in terms of people recognizing me, I think there's a few people, which was nice. I think before, because with this event in particular, we got to announce that we will go into the event.
Right.
So
the
good thing about that is you get to kind of see who's going, follow them on Twitter, maybe DM them or whatever to see if you want to see each other before the event or after the event or whatever. And there's a few people, which was nice, like, but there's more people now, like, because I've networked with more people, like, I think you have that, you gain that mutual respect of, like, we're content creators, we're just,
Yeah.
you know, having fun, trying to get our content out there, let's support each other. There's nothing to lose at the end of the day. And I assume that if I'm going to, again, with the quiz, that I'm hoping that some people will know who I am. I'm expecting a lot of people not to know who I am, and that's fine. Like, I think the whole purpose that I'm excited is that I will let people know who I am. But yeah, it was good seeing creators that I've looked up to and get advice and stuff like that. And
I know that I think, unless I'm mistaken, I know there's a Primaliquid there, who's
yes, he was, yeah.
the absolute, like, the godsend for anyone that wants to beat 100% Final Fantasy games. Like,
Yeah.
And yeah, I watched him loads.
Yeah,
He's brilliant.
It's cool talking to him.
Yeah.
And just I spoke to a lot more people after the event when we went out for drinks. It was a good time because I think we all wanted to play the game because we all had the opportunity to make a preview video because we were supplied with, like, B-roll footage and stuff like that. And there was occasions where we got to eat food at the event to kind of mingle, and that's when I spoke to the folks at FF Union and a few other people. But it was after the event where I think once a few drinks are down, you just kind of,
Chill
the
out.
barrier
Yeah.
goes away. Anyway, yeah, it's a much more relaxed environment, and I got to speak to a lot of people. So
Yeah, I'm better now, I think, because I've been doing this sort of stuff for 6 months or so, maybe a bit longer now. And when I first started doing this, I was really, really nervous. And obviously, we've kind of interacted before, so I felt less nervous chatting to you. So, but when I was at, I guess, the post-COVID world, I went to EGX at the end of last year and re-met some people I'd met before, and they remembered me, and that made me relax instantly because I thought, well, at least I'm memorable. Hopefully, it's for the right reasons. But it may be because of course, that being stuck inside and interacting with people on the internet, you're like, do these people actually like me? And then, do they remember me and stuff like that? But then when you see people in person, I'm nervous for, like, the first 5 minutes, and then I just, like, the nerves go away. And I think for
I'm
an
the
event
same.
like this, a daft pub quiz, it's going to be, well, I don't mean that daft in a negative way. I mean, like, a daft, let's have fun thing. God, oh my God, I might cut that out because that sounds awful. But the a pub quiz that's going to be, everyone's having a laugh, and clearly, if you've seen Ben's sense of humor, it's going to be hilarious and daft. He's like Jim Carrey, isn't he? He's like the Mask. But
He
I
is.
think that I don't know if he might feel complimented by hearing that if he listens. That'd be interesting. But no, I guess that leads me on to what your plans for the future are. Then, obviously, I mean, like, I won't talk about embargoed stuff, but I guess you mentioned in your New Year's video that the prime thing for you is to have fun. So, do you have any ideas on that you want to progress or anything like that?
Yeah, I think the Platinum series is going to continue, and I think one thing, because the way the Platinum series started is when Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster came out I think it came out either March or April time. I was like, oh wait, all the Final Fantasy games except Final Fantasy 11 are on PlayStation. I guess you could make an exception for 13 because they're stuck on the PS3.
But now,
but they're all available and they all have platinum trophies. And I was like, and that's what sparked off, like, this Final Fantasy venture. I was like, what if I play through this Pixel remaster and I complete them and make a video? Like, the thing with the Platinum series is that the way the video is supposed to be is it's supposed to be like a personal retrospective. So I kind of share my first impressions and my history with the game, and then I'll move on to how it was this time around and things that I've learned or things that have changed. And then it was also like a little trophy guide at the end, like tips that I could probably share with other people if they're planning on doing the same thing. And that worked really well. So obviously I want to carry that on, but I knew that once I get past the initial 6, when I get to 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, the gaps are gonna get bigger. So I was always forever thinking of, like, how can I fill in those gaps? So obviously, I've done a few Final Fantasy tier list videos where I rank the characters based on my recent playthrough. So usually, when you see a tier list, it'll be like a definitive tier list. Like if you want to use a character, use these. I approached it a little bit differently. With this was my experience. This is where my feelings are, and just to create a bit more of a discussion. So I definitely want to carry those on along the Platinum series. But I did start streaming last year. I've been doing it for 6 months now. I've always been reluctant because I always find making videos and live streaming are very different. They both have pros and cons. And I was always nervous of first it was like trying to find a schedule and then seeing if anyone turns up. But then I was like, no, it doesn't matter about any of this stuff. I'm just going to play the games I enjoy. And if people come in, they come in. If they don't, they don't. If they chat, they chat. If they don't, they don't. And I've been having a blast with that. But during these streams, I've had the idea of getting two birds with one stone. So because my journey with games, I completely missed out the SNES era, the NES era. So there's a lot of real good, best RPGs that are on those systems. So I thought, well, fill in these gaps. Why don't I play these and give a first impression from someone that's played it in 2023, 2024, etc. So doing that. So coming back to the question of the future, I'm hoping I needed to set the scene.
That's cool. No, it's all right. It's fine. Be as tangential as you want. It's great.
Yeah, it's so I want to do more of that in the future. I'm starting to get a nice community together, and that was a goal for last year. I never had a community. I just made videos and responded to comments. I never tried to gather those familiar faces that pop up in the comment section every so often. So I did that, and now I want to obviously build that further because what I've got so far is great.
Yeah, no, I've got a comment on that actually because I use Discord quite a lot now, and your community, and I'm not just saying this, they are some of the nicest people that really, really talk about a game I'm playing or something like that, and everyone pops in and says, it's really nice. I mean, some Discord communities I go onto, and this isn't a negative, but I'll go on there for someone to give me a reality check about something. Sometimes not that's not just why I go on there, but sometimes I'll be talking about, there's always a venting thing for Discord, isn't there? And I've said something, I've made an opinion, and someone said, "Well, I'm challenging that," and it's been, really affable and great. But your community is everyone's so friendly. It's really, really nice. It's like a chill out place. So I'm just going to go on.
It's small and sweet at the moment, and we are going to just build it further and further. So that's another thing for the future. But back to the games, I want to play more games that I've never played before. So I literally uploaded a video today on. I'm venturing through the Dragon Quest series. I've never played. I've played bits of 8 and 11, but I've never completed one. So I thought, you know what, this is another. I'm not abandoning anything that I'm doing.
No.
The Final Fantasy stuff is still the crux of the channel. There's still going to be lots of good stuff. Like we've got Rebirth coming out. That's going to be phenomenal. I should imagine that we're going to get more things within the year, and Final Fantasy isn't fading away anytime soon. But I'm just getting more and more things together and just making it a cool space to come and get some nice perspectives from. And I think that's my plans for the future. Just play these games, have a blast, throw my opinions out there, because the great thing about opinions is people have different opinions. So that is a discussion point there. And that's what I like doing as well. I like having discussions and just keep going from there. So that's my aim ultimately, I think.
And I think that's what's great about Final Fantasy specifically. I know there's been I've seen quite a lot of talk about people saying, "Oh, I don't like this game," and then people say, "Oh, it's not recognized in its time." But for the most part, from what I've seen, the Final Fantasy community is very, very self-regulatory with that now, anyway.
Yeah.
But no, so Final Fantasy 16 then. So obviously you played it at the Tower of London event. We need lightning. We need lightning to come down. Not actually lightning from the game. We need actual lightning to come down. The Tower of London event, sort of thing. So what did you think of Final Fantasy 16, Ben? No, you don't have to worry about spoilers with me because I've played it and I've beaten it. So
I loved it. It was my game of the year last year.
Yeah, I agree.
For many reasons. I think there was a big debate about, is it a Final Fantasy? But I really feel that discussion gets thrown around every time a Final Fantasy comes out.
Totally.
And at the end of the day, Final Fantasy is different to many people, like the meaning of it and what it is. For me specifically, it's just a great game for me to take myself out of the real world and throw myself into an imaginary. And I know you can do that with any game, but Final Fantasy is special to me. We've spoken about it and what it means, like from 7 onwards. But yeah, it's a Final Fantasy. It's the point I'm making. Final Fantasy 16 is a Final.
I agree, and it was my game of the year as well. I mean, I played quite a lot of retro games last year because I was doing quite a lot of retro video content. But I played Sea of Stars as well, which I think was brilliant. But I think Final Fantasy 16, like to me, and again, I obviously mentioned I've not played 10 properly yet, but to me, it was the first one where from playing the beginning half an hour or so, it was the first time that it like captured me since 9. Like that fall.
Yeah.
I think I made a tweet saying I think I've fallen in love with. Is it possible to fall in love with a game? Because that beginning part, and again, I'm terrible with names of things, so I might get the name of the country wrong or something like that. But the bit at the beginning when you're learning how to fight with the Master at Arms and stuff like that, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
This is just so cool. This is like combined the modern, I guess, action RPG stuff with, but it feels like a Final Fantasy. So I think it's great, and I think, like you say, it's. I think one of the things that's made Final Fantasy so everlasting is that it does constantly reinvent itself, and people, it's the standard sort of philosophical thing is that people hearken to the good old days that never existed because, someone was always complaining about something, which is, for them to do. I mean, like you said, it's nice to have a discussion and say, well, I didn't like that part. The one complaint I've got is a really minor one, and that's more because of how I played the game. So it's because of the DLC. So the first DLC that's been released, I can't play it yet because I've not done a side quest. I don't know which side quest it is. It's really difficult to find out which one it is. So and that's not a problem. That's just like, it would have been a bit nice if I'd known how to do it. Because you go online, you're trying to find out which side quest you need to do, and it's like, well, you got to do this one. And I'm like, well, how do I get to that one? And it's like, well, it's a bit. So it's not. That's probably my only complaint about the entire game. Was I thought it was brilliant, incredibly well acted. Again, I think Mr. Stars like. He's a star, isn't he? Ha ha! I'm probably not the first person to make that joke over the last year, but you feel in his performance. I mean, everyone in that game is brilliant. Every performance is fantastic.
Very, very strong.
And it's British as well. Like they're all speaking in like it. And obviously you can feel the Game of Thrones influence. I don't know if you've watched Game of Thrones, but
I've not. But I did.
It's got that kind of shades of grey vibe that Game of Thrones has, and it's and obviously the fantasy element, and it's not about a good and evil kingdom. It's about the stories almost more around the darkness within a person, which is what Game of Thrones is like. The author of Game of Thrones, George R. R. Martin, said that he believes the battle of, that's really philosophical now, I don't know, the battle of good and evil is within the battle of good and evil is within the human spirit. And I think that that combined with the fact that Ben's clearly one of us, the Final Fantasy fan, and he clearly, was like a kid at Christmas performing on it, and you could feel that throughout the game because I didn't get like as involved with the interview behind the scenes stuff until way into playing the game. But I remember like the way his performance, it just comes across. It's just like this guy's just hammering it up in all the right ways, and it's like this is like. It's like he's speaking for like how I feel about it. It's brilliant. I really cannot say enough about it. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I think Final Fantasy 16 is just like, I think its strongest part is the story and way its story, its characters, and obviously the actors behind those characters.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the games where I've just played through it and I've never got goosebumps or like maybe a little bit teary-eyed. So much of these high stakes, and you never feel kind of lost in it because you've got the active time lore as well, which is an incredible feature. More games need an active time lore. I think my life needs an active time lore sometimes. Like when I forget a face, I'll be like holding the touchpad button. I was like, oh, that's my auntie over there. But it'd be really nice to have an active.
That would make me a bit more like a what's that person's name thing.
Yeah,
that's because I can remember like people's entire history, but remembering their name is very difficult for me. So,
but I really enjoyed the story. I think because with me being the age I am, and just like taking in the story and taking it in, listening to every voice line. Not, do you know, like occasionally you could like press circle to skip a voice when you've read the text and you want to skip the
Yeah.
voice. I didn't do any of that. I just listened to all the NPCs, and then just got invested. And I know that there was a big argument about the side quests towards the end of the game being a bit tedious because there's so many of them to do if you want to do them all. But when you're looking at a perspective from a lore perspective, like it gives so much. Yes, you don't get the best sword and you don't get a fancy piece of armor, but if you're invested in the world and the characters, you are being rewarded for your time in like in piles. And
Yeah.
then just I'm not an action RPG guy. I don't really like action RPGs, and I was nervous when they first announced that it was an action RPG. I was like, I'm getting it, but I don't know if I'm going to dig it. But I think the way it just guides you through the game, it's really good at just not holding your hand, but making sure that you're not feeling lost in any
Yeah.
aspect. And the combat really shine to it. And then you got the icon fights as well, which is just like they kick off the intro, because the demo that we played at the Tower of London was the demo that everybody got when they released the demo. So it
I've
would have
not
been
played the demo, so I don't know what I've heard about it. I don't know what it is though. So
it was basically it's the intro of the game.
oh,
Do you know
okay.
the young Clive portion?
Oh, okay. Okay.
It was that entire section. That's what we got to play at the Tower of London. And just that Phoenix, and if I need to get used to saying Ifrit as well, because
Yeah, no, yeah.
I've been an Ifrit guy for
Tidus as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's Chocobo
And
though, apparently. That's the
I switched just to keep myself going. Sometimes I'm like Chocobo, sometimes I'm like Chocobo, and then I've heard someone pronounce it Chocobo, which is
Chocobo. Well,
Chocobo.
well, this is an interesting tangent. Let's talk about this for a minute because this is cool.
Okay,
Because I say Zidane from Final Fantasy IX,
yeah,
and that's because at the time it came out, one of the biggest footballers on the planet. Not that I'm a massive football fan, but I
yeah,
knew enough to know Zinedine Zidane.
yeah,
So it's Zidane. Why wouldn't it be? And the people are like, "Oh, it's Zidane." I'm like, "What? Why would you call him Zidane?" I think maybe that's maybe Americans didn't necessarily know
yeah.
who Zinedine Zidane was. So I don't know what you're.
I think I'm a Zidane guy,
Yeah,
but I think I may have said
but
Zidane a few
that's
times.
fine, Zidane. But like Zidane, I'm like, where does that come from? Like
Zidane, yeah.
Zidane, what? But apparently that's the official thing. So if they ever do a
Oh,
remake and then the dub comes in and it says Zidane, I'll be like, oh no,
oh no, we're gonna have to get
no, it's
used to
Zidane. But
that.
it's like there's loads of things like that because we touched on this earlier about what we said about teaching you to read and stuff like that, the pronunciation
Yeah,
of some of the things. So like what is it? Yeah, like the character names like Quistis. Some people say Keistis and
yeah.
Squall. I mean that's just that's just an accent thing. Put more than Earth in. Zell you can't mispronounce. I don't think. I know people say Cipher or Cipher, but to me it's Cipher because it's like Kiefer Sutherland. You know,
Oh
like
yeah.
so Cipher. I don't know if you've got any like hot take ones that you think it should be pronounced a certain way, or
Uh, I'm a cipher guy, but I
you a
can say
Cipher.
cipher. But
Yeah.
I think that's because they may have said the name out loud. I think because cipher or cipher is in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh, I see. Right.
I think they shouted out to him. But there's a few like Tifa. I used to call Tifa.
Tifa.
I was a when I was a kid, but obviously changed. I think Mako and Mako, I think like the Mako reactors,
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII. Tidus and Tidus.
Yeah.
I'm a what am I? Because in my Final Fantasy X uh, Platinum Series video, I made it a point to change the pronunciation on purpose many times,
Oh, okay, that's cool.
just to appease all audiences. But
It's
I think I'm
Tidus is
more
there's
of a
so much water. It's like the tide.
yeah.
Tidus.
I
Makes
think I
sense.
am a Tide. I think it's pronounced Tidus in one of the Dissidia games as well. So I'm also a Tidus game. Titus guy, not a Titus
That's a
game.
true Tidus game, yeah.
Any other hot takes on
If
pronunciations?
Ifrit is a bit tricky, isn't it? It's Ifrit, isn't it? But
Yeah,
I think one of
yeah,
the other things with that is that like my my friend I mentioned in my Final Fantasy VIII video like got me into Final Fantasy and he was talking about the characters and we were only 8 or 9 when we played it, and he was talking about the characters before I played the game, so he like pronounced them wrong because he was, for
Mm.
whatever reason, he was like, so Renoa I know is Rona for the first
Oh,
like
right.
4 or 5 months. And then I played it. I
Mm.
was like, that doesn't say Rona. And Renzo Kuken, he said we call it Resolutian. I don't know why. I think it was just like, maybe it only pops on the screen briefly. Maybe it was like, what does that say? You know. And
I think the best one from 8 is Quetzalcoatl, right?
Quetzalcoatl. Well, so Quetzalcoatl. So back in school when we were doing when I was playing Final Fantasy VIII for the first time, we did like a history thing on Quetzalcoatl, which is I think is it a Mayan or an Aztec god? I can't remember.
So, yeah.
But that's where it comes from. I mean, I'm not clued up on it at all, so I don't want to say the wrong thing. But it's a god of some description. And I remember being like, oh my god, that's amazing! It's so cool. It's a name from like a game I played. But yeah, and is it, what's the name of the zombie on the train? Is it, how do you pronounce that? Giro or something like that. On Final
Oh,
Fantasy VIII.
Girard.
Yeah, we called
The
him
amount of
we called him Gregoro, and that was what when I used to write stories at school, I'd always call my lead character Gregoro. So that's yeah, yeah. It's just really silly stuff like that. But I think it's interesting like how everyone has like how everyone makes, I don't know, they're really mistakes, but like people in completely different areas. Like we talked about people not necessarily connecting with Final Fantasy and being far away, make the same mistakes with the names.
Yeah,
Like what is it? Holly from PlayStation Access, she on PlayStation Access, she says Ocarina of Time. That's what I said as a kid. So like like Ocarina of Time, Ocarina of
yeah,
Time. Some people say, but Ocarina of Time. That I'm like, oh, someone says the same thing as me. I love that sort of stuff.
yeah,
It's, probably sounds quite silly, but now it's probably it's a lost thing, isn't it? Because now
yeah.
every game's got voice acting in it for the most part. So apart from Sea of Stars, which has got loads of really difficult to pronounce names in it, so that'll be an interesting one if you ever get around to playing
Mm.
that. So
Oh
which you
yeah,
should do because it's amazing.
that's on the list for this year. I did start it last year, but
Oh,
I
it's so
think
good.
again because it came out towards the end of the year. When did it come out? Was it like
It's
October
like
time? Was it
August, September time,
August?
I think. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think either I was reviewing a game or I was playing another game, and I just had to. I think I played the first. I got to the first town, and then that was it. So I do intend to.
It's a little bit of a slow burn because you start
Mm,
off and you're really underpowered and you can't
yeah.
get your head around what's going on. But then as soon as you get to, I think it's the first proper dungeon, you realize this is a masterpiece. In my opinion,
Mm,
anyway, I think it was absolutely fantastic. And I mean, I never played. I say never played. I played Chrono Trigger briefly because that was another one that we never got us over in Europe till much later.
yeah.
We got on DS, I think. I don't know how to play that game now other than the DS. I don't know if it's on the PlayStation Store or anywhere at
You can
all.
get it on Steam. It's on.
It's
I
on Steam.
played it for the first time last year, and
Is it good?
on
I mean, I played
on
the first
stream.
2 hours of that or something like that, but
Yeah, it's quite a game. Yeah, I can see why it gets the praise it does. It's really good. Yeah.
oh, okay, that's interesting. And I'm not on. Well, we keep being tangential, but that's totally fine because that's what it's about. But
Yeah.
um, we on Final Fantasy 16 then. So like spoilers for Final Fantasy 16. Did, we talked about like scenes getting you. Which was the one that got you like emotionally, like because there's one that got me that I bawled my eyes out at. Actually, to be honest with you.
There's one. It's because it's been a while since I've not actually gone back to it since I planned
I
on
put you on the
it.
spot now.
Yeah, there's a scene where Clive's like asking asking what's it all for or something, and he starts. I don't know if it's to Jill, or to Omega Ultima. Sorry, not
Omega.
um,
That's the next game.
he, um, but where he's like, he just like was wondering what it's all for, and he's just like, it might have been when he kind of like faces himself actually, when he, do you know, when he's
Oh yeah, when he
finally chased down the rope. I
yeah.
like that. Yeah, I like the transition between like disbelief, anger, and all the emotions. I think the Jill scene on the beach, very touching moment. The ending as well, and there's one more moment that stood out to me, and I can't remember what it was. Can't think on top of my head, but yeah, there's many. There's so
Yeah,
many of them.
it's a roller coaster. The bit that got me, I did say spoilers, is there's two. Well, there's more than that, but the when he finally meets his mother again, like,
Yeah.
and
Oh, that's the one I was
screaming at
thinking.
her,
Yes.
like, oh, that
Yes.
that was just like, oh my God, like, because it teases you. She keeps popping up, and he never quite meets her, and then he
Yeah.
sees her, and it's like, oh my God, like, I hate this woman just as much as he does, and like, and how he screams at her is like, this is amazing,
Mm.
and then also the towards the end, and again, I don't know the name of the place because I'm terrible, but the while you're on your supposedly final assault, before you go into the final dungeon and fight Ultima, it's when you first go to attack him, and like you and Joshua go off and leave everyone
Yeah.
else, and you go off on your own, and you get surrounded, and then everyone turns up and saves you. I'm getting
Yes.
goosebumps thinking
Yeah.
about it
Yeah.
now. That I was like, actually,
Yeah.
like, I was in a bucket. I had to pause the game. I was like, that's incredible. I was like, that's so cool because it's the
Yeah.
like kind of like culmination of like, in a way it's interesting because I think there's a lot of squall in Clive. That kind of like he's that
Yeah.
emo type
Yeah.
insular, and he sort of pushes people away, and then like he sort of like opens up, and then towards right at the end everyone comes back for him, and it's like, oh, that's just I just brilliant. I think that's probably the highlight of the game for me. And that's the point where I'm like, yep,
Mm.
it's the best game of the year. And it's definitely a Final Fantasy game. I don't care what anyone says. You can ride chocobos,
Mm.
the silver.
Yeah.
Ambrosia. That's
And
that's
you can
the.
drift on them.
I didn't know
You
that.
can, yeah, if you hold the left trigger and turn at the same time, you can do like, if you do like a quick hold and then let go as you turn in, does like a drift,
Whoa,
like a
okay. I didn't realize you could
180
do
drift.
that.
It's pretty
Oh,
cool.
wow.
Uh,
Pick that
Speaking
game up.
about wow moments, and I really want to talk about it,
Oh, yeah, sure.
is um, the Titan boss fight in particular. I personally, I think in terms of scale, the Bahamut one, or Bahamut, or however you
Bahamut, yeah.
another, yeah, is better in the way it is. But I think Titan's the best just because of the way it made me feel. Because I remember playing it, and I was like, okay, you go through the first phase, you turn into Ifrit, and you're having that small fight. But then when you get booted out, and he starts eating the crystal or whatever,
Yeah.
and you get booted out of the dome, and then you got all these arms and stuff. I was thinking, oh, this is just like a cutscene or whatever. And then when it does that, it plays out like, and then it starts building up, and then it transitions straight into gameplay when you're running towards him. It was
Yeah.
the first time in a long time when I was like, "What am I playing? Like,
Yeah.
this is incredible!" Like that moment just was like, and then all of it between, and then again, spoilers, but when you defeat, not that we've not spoken about them, but I'm just like, sorry, I'm excited about talking about it. But when you defeat the arms and you do that, and then you finally fall down, and you think, okay, that's all over, and then he falls down with you, and it starts off like the third phase of the fight, and it's like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and I
The,
was like, oh,
the, the,
just that,
the, the music in the game, because we obviously mentioned you're a musician,
yeah,
and I guess I call myself a musician as well. Like it was really varied, and what was fantastic about all of most of the motifs from the old Final Fantasies are in there. So you hear the scale,
yeah,
the scale.
yeah,
That's in there, and that plays like in the menus. And it's like it's not there as the main thing. It's like in the background. And I think at the end of the game, the Final Fantasy theme plays the.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure that plays at the end. But also like the boss battle theme, like the main battle theme has it's really really upturned. Then there's a little like sort of like piano bit, and it sort of goes all,
mm,
or it might be like a little orchestra bit, and that's incredible. Yeah, but like all of the big icon fights had their own unique style. And that
mm,
one's cool. That's like that epic sort of like kill him sort of thing. But like I remember,
yeah.
I think it was when I think it's when you're fighting that weird thing Ultima throws at you the first time you meet him.
Oh, is
Um,
it Typhonos?
yeah,
Ty,
yeah, yeah,
Typhon? Yeah,
something like that. I can't remember, but you're fighting that, and then it starts throwing the walls at you, and then
yeah.
there's this like really weird dubstep music starts playing, and you're like,
Oh,
"What
yeah,
am I playing a Final Fantasy game?" And there's
yeah.
dubstep playing, and I was like, "This is incredible." I was like, "Wow, this is amazing."
It just goes together so well.
It's so
It's just
good,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
It's like because you're in this quirky, weird world, so it's almost like you're in this like other world.
Yeah.
And then like, it's we get really into the nitty-gritty of Final Fantasy. I could talk about this all night. So what one thing I do think is quite my point I made to a friend of mine about Final Fantasy 16, the way that they handled Ultima, because Ultima was kind of like, it probably sounds really silly, but do you remember I think it was on Fox Kids years ago. There's Jackie Chan Adventures. Do you remember
Oh yeah.
that? So
Yes.
that had a storyline where there were these demon masters or whatever they were called that were in this alternate reality, and then in order to get out there to go through a door, and they had a talisman that was to do with their power and stuff like that. That's what it reminded me of, and that was very good. It wasn't throwaway. It was a good program actually. It reminded me of that. It was like this evil world that has these monsters in it, and I thought that the way that Ultima was done is how Necron should have been in Final Fantasy IX.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Necron turns again, spoilers for Final Fantasy IX. Necron just turns up at the end, and it's like I was the
Hey
villain the whole
guys.
time.
Yeah.
I think if they'd hinted like, I suppose they did with the architecture because it's very Terran, isn't it? But like if they'd done it like where
Yeah.
it was like an Ultima type character who kept appearing, like
Mm.
this, I think that's the way they should have done Necron, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah.
But it's I was drained by the end of the game. I had to sort of turn it off. I was like, what have I just played? So
Yeah.
let's yeah. So yeah, any more thoughts about Final Fantasy?
Uh, in general, I'm excited for Rebirth.
Yes.
I think I'm gonna go ham on that. I think the way I'm gonna tackle it in terms of content is I'm gonna be really respectful. I think I'm gonna, if I have the opportunity to review it, I will be very spoiler free and
Yeah.
probably only use footage that people have already seen, maybe a
Yep.
few extra things out of context. I'm definitely going to do a Platinum Series video on it after,
Yeah.
because I've just got the Platinum a couple of weeks ago on Remake finally, so it's fitting together quite well. So that's my next Platinum Series
Yeah.
episode. So yeah, I'm going to get the Platinum, and that's going to be a bit more spoilery. So that'll be one
Yeah.
to
Totally.
click at your own discretion kind of thing. I'm excited for 16's other piece of DLC, The Rising Tide. Very excited to look into the lore of Leviathan.
Mm.
But what else? Is there anything else I want to talk about Final Fantasy? I mean, I think we can both agree that we could talk about it for hours
Until
on
Rebirth
end.
comes out.
Yeah. But I'm excited to see if 9 remakes a thing. I'm excited to see if the Tactics remaster is a thing, because we didn't get Tactics here until
we got War of the Lions, but it has on the
War of the Lions
PSP,
on
and it has the
PSP. Yeah,
worst load times in the world.
yeah. I own it, and
I have
it's
as
one of
well.
those games that I played the intro and I was like, no,
It's just
not
that
right now.
it's a really good game, but it's just that the particular port is really buggy. So
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm excited. Yeah, there's a lot of things I'm excited for the future, and
it
there's
seems like Final Fantasy's like, I don't know whether it's because people of our age group that grew up with 7, 8, and 9 have like become of that age, and most of them are working on the games now. But it
yeah,
just seems like we're in the kind of peak of Final Fantasy. This last year, it just seems like it's come back, and then
yeah.
the hype for Rebirth. I mean, you've played it. Have you played the demo for Rebirth?
I've not had a chance to yet.
Oh
No,
no!
I think it was they had it in London, didn't they?
Yeah, MCM. I played it at MCM.
Yeah, I was going to go down, but my schedule
Yeah.
was locked, unfortunately, so I couldn't
Oh,
make it.
I thought you
So
played
I'm
it. Oh
no,
wow.
unfortunately, I'm probably, if I'm hoping that they do a demo, that'll be the chance that I get to play it.
I think they probably.
So
I mean, I think I saw on your Discord server earlier because I thought I asked if anyone else had played it, and I think people were like, "There's a demo." I was like, "Oh dear." But I
yeah,
know I played it. It was another cool thing is I think someone at Square has got the head screwed on because it's just, well, probably everyone at Square's got the head, or Square Enix has got the head screwed on because it's just they had like a double decker bus set up
yeah. I've seen pictures of it.
for
So the Buster Sword there as well,
the
right?
Buster Sword was there, and that was
Yeah.
there in 2019. I held the Buster Sword in 2019. There's a
Oh,
photo of me somewhere with the Buster Sword. Like, I didn't get it this time around because I was like so excited to play. I'm talking about. I generally thought you played it. Just I don't know
no,
why,
no,
but
no, no.
yeah,
I
but
don't
no,
mind if you want to touch
no,
on it a little bit.
yeah, that's all
I'd
right.
love to
Yeah,
hear a perspective. Yeah.
so like again, I think I'd beaten 7 before because I only beat 7 last year, and I can't remember the exact timeline. I think it was either before, because I was going to do that Final Fantasy VIII video we talked about. That was in the pipeline for a while.
Mm.
But then when I went to EGX and I saw some people again, and they recognized me, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to ask them for them to be in the video, and then that's when I
Yeah.
talked to yourself, and then built from there. But I can't remember I beat seven before that. I think I might have gone, you know what, I'm beating seven now because I'm getting connecting with Final Fantasy people. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So I can't remember if I'd beaten seven before I played Rebirth, so the demo or not, but it's because it all blends into one. I mean, it's only been 2 or 3 months. What's going on? But slow time compression. There we go. And
There we go.
but no, there was a double decker bus with all the characters on the side of it, and someone I know had like liked something that someone had shared about content creators getting involved, and I just went, you know what? How big a creator do I need to be? And they went, don't mind, as long as you're a creator. And I was like, wow. So I asked, I thought, put my
Mm.
neck out a bit, and then they went, yeah, sure. It's only going to be, there's only a slot on Sunday at Comic Con, and I had to ask my dad to go out and get me a memory stick because they needed to be a specific memory stick to record it. And I was like panicking, like, oh god, because I was planning to go the whole weekend, and I was like, it's like a
Yeah.
Thursday night, and it was like, oh my god, and I'm like shaking because I'm going to be able to play this game, and then there was this thing where like I don't know if you've been to a Comic Con, but basically like they let there's like general entry and then there's like advanced entry an
Yeah.
hour before. And my slot was at 12 o'clock, which was when general entry was. And I was like, oh my God, am I going to be late? And they're not going to let me on and play this. So I was like this, like panicking. And I bumped
Mm.
into one of the guys that was working at the thing just before I left on the Saturday. And they were like, yeah, it's fine. Don't worry, you'll be all right. I said, oh, thank God for that. Because they had this bus and they had to like split the queue into two because it was
Yeah.
because there's like a rule on you're only allowed to queue for an hour long or something like that. And they got I think it was either two queues or something was going on. It was honestly it was the most popular thing at the event without a shadow of a doubt. And I just like rocked up to the front of this massive queue and I was like, yeah, I've got a slot to go on. And you go on this bus. I don't know if you've ever been on like a bus where they've got games and stuff like that, but there's like
No.
it's just a double decker bus. You've surely been on one of them, and it's
Yeah.
like as you go in, you got the driver's seat. There's nothing in it, but you sort of like turn right and there's like you know, to this side, to that side. And then I think there was some more upstairs. But there was like a booth at the back. And it was like in the back, it was like, here you go, here's where the creators go. And it was like this little curtain, and you go in and like you can play for an hour and a half. Everyone else got like 15 minutes, and I got to play like an hour and a half
Yeah.
of footage. It was incredible. I feel
Oh.
like I'm breaking some kind of embargo here by talking about it. I don't think I am, but like,
No, I think all that because that would have been the
yeah,
Junon demo and the Nibelheim
the
demo,
Junon
right? I
demo and the
think
Nibelheim
that's
demo, yeah.
that's
And
all. You
I
say
played.
you took a memory stick. How does that work? Did you just plug it into the PS5 or
No,
something?
there's like a little, they have like this like capture card device. You plugged it in, and it
Oh,
just like
like hooked up to like a laptop or a
yeah,
computer
and
or something. Yeah.
they do it. I don't know. I wouldn't know what they do. It's just it was cool. Wizardry, and then there was like footage, and it was cool because they had if it had corrupted, they would have given some B-roll as well, I think.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, but no, it was so cool. I mean, playing the game. I mean, like you play as Sephiroth briefly, and that was just like wow. And then there's the bit where you can spoilery. Oh, you've probably seen all the gameplay, but like you play as
Oh yeah,
Sephiroth and Cloud in like a dual formation thing, and it's
yeah.
like wow. And of course, I played. Oh well, we haven't talked about Crisis Core yet. I played Crisis Core last year as well for the first time properly. I played it on
Yeah.
PSP back as a kid, but the parts in the demo line up with Crisis Core. So there's a bit where
Mm.
Sephiroth calls Zack a puppy, and he
Yeah.
calls Cloud, who's
Cloud puppet.
obviously
Yeah.
Zack, he calls him a puppet. It's the same. It's like
Yeah.
wow, like how they've got the continuity down between this
Yeah.
modern thing. So like, I mean, yeah, you talked about spoilers and stuff like that. I don't know if you want to hold off on the seven stuff, but like everyone's like thinking about what is going to be different in Rebirth. But like, a part of me hopes that Genesis is in it, like or like if they like even if they don't like feature them like mainly, they like tie it in a little bit. That'd be cool. I think because I think
Mm.
Crisis Core is brilliant personally.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know
I've got
you take on
I've
your
got
take on Crisis Core is.
I like Crisis Core. Much like you, I played on PSP. Loved it. It was nice to just play Final Fantasy VII in upgraded graphics, essentially. And then when Reunion came out 2 years ago now. Well, it would have come out late 2022, right? It came out, didn't it?
Mhm.
The Reunion version. Played that, platinum it, loved it. And I this is when I started like spawning my like rebirth theories of what's going to happen because I made like I got on my YouTube channel a secret ending that isn't real. I made it up of Crisis Core because everyone was going into Crisis Core thinking, well, what happened at the end of? Have you played Remake?
Yes, no, play Remake. Yeah,
Because of what happened in Remake
yeah.
with Zach, like, oh, will they add something different to Crisis Core to kind of do it? And they didn't. Like, it was the biggest like what?
Mm.
So I made my own secret
Oh,
ending
right, yeah.
instead, and it involved Genesis because I would like to see him. I do think we will see him in Rebirth, but I
Oh,
think he.
so
I think
good.
he will be. I think he'll just be a secret ending, and we will see him more in part 3. But I could go on a tangent with Rebirth theories because I dipped my toe in that in
Yeah,
the
it's
past
a.
couple of
Oh,
videos.
yeah. Did
So
you appeared on? That's another thing. Talking
yeah,
point. You appeared on. Was it the Final Fan TV podcast as
I
well?
did. Yeah,
That I'd love to be on that at some point. I mean, I don't know
yeah.
if anyone would have
It,
me,
it,
but that would
it,
be.
it was nice being on there. It's more of like I think it was more of like a gimmicky one. Like we're messing around, joking
Yeah,
around a bit more this time because I think we're so close to the game coming out now that some people have been making up theories since the end of Remake came out, and Remake came out like over 3 years ago now. So it was nice to have a bit of fun.
yeah.
But I'm always forever thinking like, what could they do? I'm just excited. My favorite game that I know at the back of my hand right now, I don't know at the back of my hand. I don't know what's going to happen, and that's exciting. It's very rare to happen
Yeah,
that you play your favorite game again in a different way, and there's still things you don't know. And I think I'm a fan of the Remake project because of that.
oh,
Like,
I think it's incredible. I think
and if I want to play the original, I'll play the original.
well
Like that.
the thing is about Remake, the first part was that
Yeah,
because I just mentioned it, I keep mentioning I only beat 7 last year, is that I'd beaten Midgar loads of times. So Remake
yeah.
was like, yeah, this is my childhood. It was
I,
great,
I got this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, you know what I mean. So it was like, okay, that didn't feel like there was any disconnect with me. So like I thought, well, I've got to beat it before Rebirth comes out because there's no way I can go in and. I mean, I played up until the part of the Rebirth is. I think they've confirmed where it's ending, and we've talked about spoilers to death
yeah.
anyway. So that scene that's on the back of the box, which you mentioned in your Platinum episode, that the spoiler that like that was in the back of the box in Europe. What's going
Yeah,
on?
I
You know,
know.
spoiler alert. Thanks, that was nice of them. But the what was it? Yeah, I think that I mean that particular podcast, the Final Fantasy TV podcast, they were really good at like taking on like I think I put a comment in. It was like they had a theory thing on like the next trailer. How many times is there going to be a shot of eyes? Is my question, and then they mention it, and they're really fun. There's some really like deep lore
Mm,
stuff, but there's also some really good fun stuff going on there. I think it's great. It's exciting how like people are just going acting like kids at Christmas over this series again. I mean, I know that's been
yeah,
going on anyway, but I think it's brilliant. I think there's a real and
yeah. I
thinking
think
about it. Oh, you go.
I was saying that the best thing about it is like all the theory stuff is like getting me incredibly excited. But
Yeah,
that's just a small smidgen of the game. Like I can't wait to get into the gameplay. I can't wait to do the mini games. I can't wait to explore the world. Like, and then just thinking about it is just give it me now. Like,
yeah. One thing I found when I played Rebirth, and I said this in my little video I made of it, which I still can't believe I've done. By the way, that's like that was when I felt like I was part of the Final Fantasy community. I was like, I played the game. What's going on? And
yeah,
I said in there that you pick it up again so quickly. So I hadn't
mm,
played. I played Remake, and I played it like I got it for my birthday in 2020. So like it came through the post, and it was like you know however long wasn't doing anything else because we were all stuck inside. And I played that for however long it was, and then beat it in whenever it was. But I hadn't played it since. Like so, it's been 3 and a bit years
yeah,
since I played. It says 3 years since I played it, but it came back straight away the way the system was. It just
mm,
clicked instantly. Whereas like some other games, and even like I did finish 16, and I did Sea of Stars, and oh no, sorry, I did 16 and I did a Crisis Core, and then came back to try and get some side quests done in 16, and it was like a bit, what's the controls again? Because they're slightly different.
mm,
Whereas with Rebirth, it was like straight back. So I don't know, like
yeah,
someone's very clever or the way they designed the combat system because it's so intuitive, and it ties in with the original materia-based system so well as well, which is just really really cool. So I think it's
yeah,
yeah, playing the story and playing the game. I mean, I also it's the first time, and this is something that sounds really silly, but like presuming you watch like well, E3 doesn't exist anymore, which is a shame because it's something I always wanted to go to as a kid, which I'd never be able to do
mm,
now unless it comes back. Probably won't, but and the state of play and stuff like that, those events, and like I always miss them. Like I never know when they're going to be until people start talking about them afterwards, and I'm like, oh
yeah,
no. But this one had I think it's the second. Is it the second Rebirth trailer with the one where you see the gold saucer for the first time,
oh
and
yeah, yes,
Tifa's pointing, and then that and then the segue. Like it
yeah,
was the first ever like live event I tuned into, like
mm,
live. And I was like, oh, this should be all right. It was that one. I was like, what?
yeah,
And like it was nice to be part of the kind of like people reacting to it in real time. I think it's the first time I've been able to do that, and that was really
yeah,
cool as well. And I messaged my friend, and I was like the next morning, and I was like, oh mate, did you watch State of Play last night? He was like, oh no, we were going to watch it later on. I was like, watch it now before you go to work, do it. And I went back to sleep, and then like 20 minutes later, he woke up, and he was like, oh my god, and it's just incredible, like general like Twitter's just going, oh my god, because of how incredible it was. Because it's this communal thing. It seems to be, especially post lockdown. I mean, we're talking about
mm,
the quiz we're going to in 30 odd days. It'd be great to do more things like that because that's what I'm
yeah,
about, meet like-minded people and do daft, silly things. And I keep saying daft as if it's a negative thing. It's not. It's a really positive thing. I'm really excited
yeah,
for that because it's going to be cool. So,
yeah, yeah, that's fine.
as a last question, is there anything you
Yeah.
would like to plug
Would
specifically?
I like to plug? I think it's only natural to plug the YouTube channel and the Platinum series. We're going strong this year. The Platinum series. You're gonna. I can tell you the next four that I have planned, and that is Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Final Fantasy XII, The Zodiac Age, and then Theatre Rhythm, Final Fantasy Final Bar Line. I think is the full title. So yeah, check me out on YouTube, Genesis 7. And if you want to see some, you know, random posts now and again on Twitter, follow me on Twitter at Genesis 7. But I think Genesis is spelled with two S's, like at the end of it, because I think I've taken the other one, but I forgot the password. So Genesis is 7 in Roman numerals.
It'd be really creepy
And
if like it posted one day, wouldn't it? And it was actually Genesis from Final Fantasy Crisis Core
Uh, yeah,
taking over
and I
your
think
channel.
the last thing I want to plug is my Twitch page. I started streaming, like I said, 6 months ago. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm hoping that more people can come on by, hang out. Don't have to chat if you just want something to. I mean, like I said, I'm quite the lurker. I will listen to stuff while
Yeah.
I'm doing the dishes or cleaning up. So if you want somewhere to hang out, come on by twitch.tv/Genesis7. And I think that's with two S's as well, because I forgot a password. So
Brilliant.
yeah,
Well, thank you for your time.
no problem. Anytime.